Hello and welcome to Jackson's Job. Since we have out the buttermilk, I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy delicious cake. You can flavor any flavoring you like, but we're going to make it vanilla today. It's not a difficult recipe to do and it's quite cheap to make. I really love this recipe because it comes together easily. The first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius. The next thing you're going to need to do is grease a 9x13 cake pan that's 23 by 33 centimeters, and today I'm using a disposable cake pan because I'm giving this cake away. In a large bowl we have 2.5 cups of flour, that's 375 grams. I'm using all-purpose or plain flour. I'm not using cake flour, nothing fancy here. To that we're going to add in some sugar. We're going to use 2 cups of white granulated sugar or 400 grams. Now if you wanted to cut this down to 1.5 cups sugar or 300 grams, that works really good too, but most people seem to like the 2 cups the best. To this we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 6 grams, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 grams, to help balance out that sugar and give a little bit of flavoring. Now if you don't have baking soda, you can use baking powder. You'll need 2.5 teaspoons, that's 10 grams. But because of the acid in the buttermilk, we can use baking soda and save quite a bit of money. Using a whisk or a fork, you want to mix this together until you see no lumps. In a medium-sized bowl, we have some buttermilk. We have 1.5 cups of buttermilk or 360 milliliters. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, you can use regular milk, but you will have to use baking powder as buttermilk has an acid and reacts to the baking soda. If you are using regular milk, you cannot use baking soda. To that, we're going to add in some oil, 3/4 of a cup or 180 milliliters. I like to use canola oil as it's flavorless, but you can use any type of cooking oil you prefer. Next, we are going to add in 2 large eggs or 100 grams. Then we are going to add in some vanilla for flavoring. You can make this cake any flavor that you can imagine. If you wanted to, you could add in some spices, you could add in some zest, anything that you can think of. I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of vanilla or 5 milliliters. Whisk this briefly together until it's just combined. Do not beat a lot of air into it. Now get those dry ingredients from earlier and pour in all the wet ingredients at once. Scrape them all out so you don't leave any behind. You're going to whisk or stir this together until there are no lumps and it's well incorporated. Don't overmix it. You're just beating it until you no longer see lumps. Then you're just going to pour it into your prepared pan. Say hi to Raymond, everybody. He's in the background seeing if I dropped anything. Now this is a self-leveling cake, so you don't have to even level it out. It'll do all the work for you. Scrape every little bit that you can out of the bowl. Don't waste any of it. You want to place this immediately in the oven as the baking soda and the buttermilk is already starting to react. If you delay putting this in the oven, it won't rise as well. Bake this for 40 to 55 minutes. It should be a nice golden brown. It should start to separate from the edges of the pan, and if you stick a toothpick in the center, it will come out clean. Set it aside and let it cool for a bit. In the meantime, let's make some powdered sugar frosting. We're going to use 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, that's 187.5 grams. To that, we're going to add in 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, 1.25 milliliters, and 1 to 3 tablespoons of buttermilk, milk, or water. That's 15 to 45 milliliters. I'm just using water here today. Add just a little bit at a time and stir it together. It's very easy to go from not enough to too quick really fast with these powdered sugar glazes. Now you want to let the cake cool about 15 minutes before you add the glaze, or it'll all just slide off and go onto the sides of the pan. Once it has cooled slightly, you're going to pour the glaze out and then just spread it all over the cake in an even layer. Now if you wanted to, you could add sprinkles, but I'm going to show you, you want to do that very quickly. Don't go and get the sprinkles afterwards, because by the time you come back from your cabinet, it just slides off and goes onto the edges of the cake. Now to combat that, just take your spatula and spread it around the top of the cake, and it will reveal the icing below that is not yet set. This piece of cake is over a day old and it is still nice and soft and tender and moist. I'm telling you, this will last for days and it's just absolutely wonderful and people really enjoy it. It's a basic, simple sugar cake that you can flavor any flavor you can imagine. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy baking.